believe. Feel that?
U.P.K. Go on west. Babylon is falling to rise no more again. Babylon is falling. Freedom is here, my friend, not just part of the nation. Yahweh never come bring peace in start of the nation. So put your trust in the riches and wealth, but start of the nation. But just the last statutes and commandments would make the nation to keep them with precision. I just part of the nation. Daniel get a vision. With the black Christ imposing the white distinction. No allegiance to Rome, nor religion. Come out them religion if you want me a free man. Cause the deacons them full of demons. Same situation with Rasta with Islam. Only beacon a pope for your leader. Is U.P.K and the General YAHANNA. Every fowl of the ear, every beat of the field, every creeping thing we creep on land, every mouth of the clear, loud and clear. Yahweh Shai Mashiach is a black man who appear. Let him hear, time to prepare. Spiritually separate from Babylon. We no weak, we no fear. We no fear. Guns and a Bible, but him and a just part of the nation. Yahweh Shai never come bring peace in start of the vision. So put your trust in the riches and wealth, guns are of the nation. I just the last of the commandments would make the decision to keep them with precision. Just part of the nation, believers and curses, man the poor city and the beast and all churches. America fall them deserve it. Rome give the peace, history repeat another person. And 400 years of purpose, then desert it and turn round and call reverse. But now the COVID lurking, them hurting, and they need doctors and nurses. One day, tear building up return after the long journey. Don't care how much money you are earning, if you still want Babylon burn. One day, tear building up return after the long journey. Don't care how much money you are earning, I just want the nation. Yahweh Shai never come bring peace in start of the nation. So put your trust in the riches and wealth, guns are of the nation. I just the last of the commandments will make the decision to keep them with precision. I just part of the nation.
My life is about war, a priest for the war in the streets. You know I've been fighting my demons, you need me to war to get peace. Just me and my niggas, we train for war, we train to fight to the death. I had to fight to get right, so I go to war to the left. My life is about war, a priest for the war in the streets. This nigga been fighting his demons, you need me to war to get peace. Just me and my niggas, we train for war, we train to fight to the death. I had to fight to get right, so I go to war to the left. I know the meaning you ever been feeling, the really be one, they come up with reason, they give us thanks for the reason. Crying for peace, but that's not the season. They let my people be demons. We're going to war for the things that they keep, and they love my brothers be decent. They don't know the enemy, the devil deceiving, carrying feminists, not for the toil. That shit hurt us. Who kill us more than bullets in churches? Them pretty ass pastors on millions, they did it on purpose. A nigga a warrior for sure in my life.
Shalom, Priest and Officer 1000 Zabaja, the I.S.U.P.K. This is the I.S.U.P.K. Canada Sabbath service.
We're going to continue our readings from the last Sabbath service. We're going to open up the Sabbath service with prayers. Men of Israel are Wafian, Imagine, which means to stand, Sarapanya Hakudam, which means turn and face the east. We're going to start with the Lord's Prayer. Abinawa, Shabashamayam, Kudash, Sham, Salaki, Kudash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Saba'a, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kuwa, Haya, Bashamayam, Yathamanawa, Yakam, Ka, Yuwam, Wasalaknawa, Kabwaknawa, Kasalaknawa, Kabwakinawa, Mala'a, Sabayanawa, Wanasaiwan, Abar, Hawashayanawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Wahala, Wahakapara, La'ayulamyan, Aman. What we just read in English. Our Father, which art in heaven.
Our Father, which art in heaven.
Hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
In earth.
In earth.
As it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day.
Give us this day.
Our daily bread. And forgive us our debts.
Forgive us our debts.
As we forgive our debtors.
As we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation.
And lead us not into temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
For thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And the power.
And the glory.
And the glory.
Forever so be it.
Forever so be it.
Salakia. Officer Shariwan, sir.
Come.
Officer Shariwan, state your registry and salute.
Shariwan Ban Banyamyan Ban Yasharala.
Shariwan Ban Banyamyan Ban Yasharala.
Yahbashim Yashabrakatha.
Yahbashim Yashabrakatha. Salaki, officer. You can start.
Come, sir.
We're going to read. Salaki, one moment. We're going to read the prayer for power structure in the I.S.U.P.K, which is the home of the truth. There is only one home of the truth. Barakatha Yahweh.
Barakatha Yahweh.
Wa Yahweh Shai.
Wa Yahweh Shai.
Wa Mayak Ka'ala.
Wa Mayak Ka'ala.
Wa Alahayim.
Wa Alahayim.
Matazabiyah.
Matazabiyah.
Alawap Yahanna.
Alawap Yahanna.
Ha Alawapyan.
Ha Alawapyan.
Ha Saranyam.
Ha Saranyam.
Ha Kwatazayanyam.
Ha Kwatazayanyam.
Ha Kaya Yalyam.
Ha Ka Ayayalyam.
Ha Akwathyan.
Wa Akwathyam.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'ashem.
Hashem.
Yahweh Shai Thuwad Aman.
Yahweh Shai Thuwad Aman. In English, what we read, bless you, Yahweh.
Bless you, Yahweh.
And Yahweh Shai.
And Yahweh Shai.
And Michael.
And Michael.
And the angels.
And the angels.
Commanding General Yahanna.
Commanding General Yahanna.
The generals.
The generals.
The captains.
The captains.
The officers.
The officers.
The troopers.
The troopers.
And the sisters.
And the sisters.
Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai.
Thank you, so be it.
Thank you, so be it. We're going to read Psalms 83 in the Hebrew, and then we're going to read it in the English. Alahaya. Al-Damayalaka.
Oh, yeah.
Al-Thakor.
Salakia. Al-Thaka Rash.
Al-Baka Thara.
Wa al-Shakwat. All.
All.
Yahanna.
YAHANNA.
Awayabyaka.
Y-A-W-K.
Yahama Yawan.
YAHANNA Yawan.
Wama Salakia. Wama Shanayaka.
Wama Shanayka.
Nasha'awa.
Nasha'awa.
Rash.
Rash.
Al-Amaka.
Al-Amaka.
Ya'ira Yamwa.
Ya'ira Yamwa.
Sawad.
Sawad.
Waya Thaya Aitazawa.
Waya Thaya Aitazawa.
Al-Tazapawan. Yaka. Amarwa. Lakawa. Wana Ka Yadam. Magaya. Wala'a. Yazakar. Sham Yasha'ala. Iwad. Yika. Nawa Aitazawa. La. Yakadwa. Al Yaka. Baryak. Yakarafwa. Ahalia. Adawam. Waya Shemai Salakia. Waya Shemai Alahayim. Mawa'aba. Waha Gar Salakia. Waha Garyam. Gabal. Wa'aimawan. Wa'aimalat. Palasha. Aim Yashabya. Tazawar. Gam Ashawar. Linawa. Imam. Hayawa. Zarawai. Labanya. Lawa. Salah. Aisha. Laham. Kamadyan. Salakia. Kasaya. Sara'a. Kayabyan. Wanakal. Kwayashwan. Nashamadwa. Bayan. Da'ira. Hayawa. Daman. La'adama. Shayathamwa. Nada. Yabmawa. Ka'ibra. Ka'irab. Waka Zaba. Waka Zaba. Waka Tazar Manaya. Ka Nasaya Salakia. Ka Nasa Yakam Wa. Ashar Amarwa. Niya Ra'ash. Ranawa. Nawa. Alahaya. Shiyathamwa. Kagaga'a. Kakwash. Lapanya Rakab. Ka'ash. Taba'ira Ya'ira. Ka Lahaba. Salahat. Hayam. Khan. Tharadatma. Basa Iraka. Wabar. Sawat Pafka. Tabahalam. Mala'a. Panyahan. Kwalawan. Waya Bakwashwa. Shankar. Yahawa. Yabashwa. Waya Bahawa. Ijai. Wayakar Parwa. Waya Abadwa. Waya Da'iwa. Kaya. Athar. Shankar Yahawa. Labarka. Al Yawan. Al Kaharataza. What we said in English. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace. Be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy hidden ones. Salakia. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur is also joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Salah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb, and like Zeb, yea, all their princes, as Zabah, and Al-Zalmunna, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession. O my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth a wood, as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high over all the earth. Hakah, the prayer for power. Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Babakashah, the Thundernawa, Hakah, Hakah, Larapa'ah, Kamakala, Wakalamadawah, Hakah, Latahar, Hamatazariah, Hakah, Halakoyam, Hamathayam, Hakah, Awakawa, Hatama'ala, Salakia, Hatama'ala, Lagarasham, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, the water Aman. Lord, in the name of Yahweh Shai, Salakia, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'ah, Ayanya, Ahahariah, Ma'ayan, Yaba'ah, Isaiah, Ma'an, Yahweh, Aisha, Shamayam, Wa'aratazah, Al-Yathan, Lamawat, Regalka'a, Al-Yanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'ah, Yanawam, Wala'ah, Yayashan, Shawamam, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al-Yad, Yamyanka, Yamam, Hashemash, La'ah, Yakaka, Wayarat, Bala, Yala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makarai, Yashamar, Athan, Apashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Tazaafka, Wa'aka, Ma'aifa, I will lump. In English, what we just read. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yasha'Allah shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore. Bless Israel. Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Barak Lanawa, Wa Yasha'Allah, Wahab Bayath Saparia, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Tawada Aman. Lord, in the name of Yahweh, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us and Yasha'Allah and the school. In the name of Yahweh Shai, Tawada, so be it. Men of Israel, Sar, Akwathian, Sar, which means to turn. You may be seated. All right. So this is the weekly Sabbath service. We're going to break down the Bible and the scriptures, all right? The scriptures, how it's supposed to be broken down, how your Christian pastor won't do it, right? We start with the prayers. Officer Shariwan, he's having technical difficulties. He'll be back soon, right? If you're new to this class, to the Sabbath, if you've been watching for a while and you're trying to figure out how you get down with the I.S.U.P.K in Canada, just hit this sign-in link right here. It's in the chat. Hit the sign-in link. Do your 90 days, right? Diligently do your 90 days. Take notes. Ask all the questions you want. Ask every question. There is no bad question. Don't ever think there is a bad question. Ask all the questions you want. Hit that sign-in link. Do your 90 days. Get you a name, right? Because with that name, and here you get benefits. You get the benefit, the greatest benefit you'll ever get is brotherhood and sisterhood. There is nothing like the brotherhood and the sisterhood in the UPK, right? It's you will never get brotherhood and sisterhood in the world. No heathen nation will ever love you like how you're supposed to be loved. They're all going to turn on you. Your friends in the world is going to turn on you. Your family just want to use you for what they can. Then they turn on you, right? But with that said, hit that sign-in link. We're going to go into our readings, right? So right now we're in Genesis 31, verse 22, right? And we read what we were reading previously. Jacob, he got some wives. He had children. He left Laban because Laban was a shyster. He's on his travels. He's coming up onto his brother Esau, who is the progenitor of the Edomites, who are the so-called oppressors, right? Jacob being blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. He's coming up onto his brother, and his brother said he was going to kill him, right? And Salakia, this is how you know I.S.U.P.K is one body, right? It's one body, one spirit, one mind. My brother's wearing all white. Salakia. I didn't tell him to wear all white, right? We didn't call and say. Now we speak damn near every day. When we don't speak, it's terrible. It feels like we haven't spoken in 10 years, right? But my brother, he's in all white. Good night. Salakia. Hold up, let me fix my screen real quick. Right. So we're going to read in the Hebrew Genesis 31, verse 22 to verse 28. Let me just get that Hebrew for you. I'm going to read it. Let me make sure I'm in the right spot. Okay, I'm in the right spot. So Genesis 31, 22 to verse 28 in the Hebrew. Then we're going to break it down into English. Yah God, La Laban, Vaya Wam. Salakia. Let me just make sure I'm before I lose my spot. Vaya Wam. Hasha La Ya. Salakia. Hasha La Ya Ya. Maya. Barak. Yaiquab. Verse 23. Waya Quak. Af. Aka Yuwat. I'm Wa. Salakia. Waya Rada. Salakia. Waya Rada. Akar Yuwat. the Ram, Shabbat, Yum, Waya Debak, Athawa, Bahar, Hagar, La'id, verse 24. Waya Ba'a, Alahayim, Al, Laban. Salakia. One moment. Salakia. Ha'aram ya. Bakalam. Hala ya la. Waya Amar. La. Hasha Mar. La. Pan. Tada Bar. Ain. Yaquab. Mata. Salakia. I always mess it up. Matawab, Rad, 25, Wiyah, Shag, Salakia, Wiyah Shaga, Salakia, Laban, Yaquab, Wiyah Quab, Salakia, Wayaquab, the Quai, Aha, La, Bahar, Walaban, Saquai, Aka, Yawa, Bahar, Hagar, La'id, Waya Amar, Laban, La Yaquab, Maha, Aisha Yaf, Watha Ganab, Laba Bayab, Wathan Hag, Bana Thayab, Mashab Yawat, Karab, verse 27. Salakia, verse 27. Lama, Nika Ba'ath, Labarak, with Ganab, Athayah, Wala'ah, Hagar, Salakia, Hagar Dath, Laya, Wa'a Salakia, Wa'a Salakia, Wa'a Shalakam, Basha Makar, Waba Shara Yam, Salakia, Waba Shayam, but Betha, Waba Mana War, verse 28. Wala'ah, Nata, Shatha, Naya, Lana, Shat, Labanya, Walaban, Thaya, Aitha, Hasa, Malak, Aishawa, That was 22 to 28 in the Hebrew, in Genesis, the 31st chapter. So we're going to read Genesis. Salakia. Good night. Salakia. Something is up. Salakia. Bear with us. We're going to read one more time in the Hebrew because I read the wrong verse in Hebrew. All right, Salakia, bear with us. Right, we read the wrong verse in the Hebrew, so I'm going to read it one more time. I was supposed to be reading Genesis 32. All right, so bear with us. We're going to read Genesis 32 in the Hebrew to Genesis 32 and 22 in the Hebrew to Genesis 32 and 28 in the Hebrew. Bear with us. Without I bar. This is Genesis 32, 22. Without I bar. Haman kaha al. Pana Yawab. Waha wa'a. Lana. Laba yala. Haha wa'a. Bama ka na'aha. Verse 23. Waya kwam. Wala ya la'a laha. Hawa'a. Waya ka at. Shathaya. Nasha yawa. Wa'at. Shathaya. Shapak the Yawa Wa'at Akad Aishar Yalad Yawa Wayaquab At Ma'ai Bar Yaquab. Verse 24. Waya Kwa Ham Salakia. Waya Kwa Kam. Waya I Baram. At Ha Salakia. Hana Kal. Waya Wayaquab At Aishar La. Verse 25. Waya wa Thara Salakia. Waya wa Thar Yaquab. Labad wa Labad da. Waya Abba Salakia. Waya Abba Ayash. I'm wa. I Ayla wa. Hasha ra. Salakia. Hasha kar. Verse 26. Wayar waya ra'a. Maya la'a. Yamal. La. Waya ga'ai. Bama. Yavra Mawa. Watha Kwa'ai. Mapa Salaki. Mapa. What? Yaram. Yaquab. Baha'a Baha Abba Kuwa Aimwa, verse 27. Waya Amar Shalak Naya Maya Ayla Hashakar Waya Amar La'a Asha Lakam Maya Bara Matha Naya, verse 28. Waya Amar Allah Yawa Maha Maka Salake Maha Shamam Waya Amar Yaquab Salakia. Now that we read the right verse, so we read Genesis 32, 22 to 28 in the Hebrew. I'm going to get Officer Shaywan to break down what we just read in the English.
Come on, counsel. It's the book of Genesis, chapter 32, and verse 22. And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 manservants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Jabbok.
Right. So Jacob, he's on his travels. He just left Laban. When he went to Laban at first, he had 0 wives, right? When he left Laban, he had 2 wives, right? 2 of them were sisters, and 2 of them were the servants of those sisters, right? Now Moses told us that because of the stories of Jacob, right? Because of the history that was passed down, Moses put in the law that you can't marry 2 sisters. It's going to be jealousy. It's going to be fighting. Those sisters have been jealous of each other since day one. They've been fighting with each other since day one. It's not good to marry 2 sisters and have them jealous, right, of each other, right? The Christian church will tell you that you could only have 1 wife. The Christian church does not read the Bible. They do not follow the Bible. Israel started from 4 wives, right? If the Lord said it was wrong, he would have put it in the scriptures. He would have said you cannot have more than 1 wife. In fact, he has laws for it in the scripture, laws of how to deal with it. Now, if you want 1 wife, go get 1 wife. If you want 10, go get 10. If you want 0 wives, you can have 0 wives, right? But he was on his travels away from Laban, and he's coming up onto his brother. He already divided his convoy into 2, right? Because he knows the threat that his brother gave him when he took the. Okay, little backstory. Jacob got the inheritance from Esau. Jacob's mother, Rachel, made sure he got it, right? Esau, being the oppressor and the spirit of the oppressor, he does things in vain. He will give you something and then be mad that he gave it to you. So Jacob knew that Esau was coming to kill him eventually. So he divided his convoy. 2 wives go this way, 2 wives goes that way. So if one is come upon by Esau's 400 men, the other will survive. Keep reading.
Verse 23. And he took them and sent them over the brook.
Right. So Jacob, the 2 wives that were with him, he sent them over the brook so he could be by himself at this moment. Right. Keep reading.
And sent over that he had.
Go
Verse
ahead.
24. And Jacob was left alone.
Right. So Jacob, he's alone. He's sleeping. He's in his tired state, and he's sleeping at this moment, right? Now you're gonna find out that he's sleeping because everyone does this at the nighttime? They fall asleep. You have a long journey ahead of you. You want to get rest. In this school, we advise the men under us. Salaki. Officer Bond does it all the time. Before we go to camp, before we go on our long journeys, he tells us, Akim, get some rest, ensure that you get 8 hours of sleep. This is what Jacob was doing. He was getting rest, right? Keep reading.
And there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day.
Right. In his sleep, just like Officer 5000 of Bond advises us to get some rest, he was in his sleep and he wrestled with a man. Right? He wrestled. He was physically fighting this man in his slumber. Keep reading.
Verse 25. And when he saw that he persuaded not against him,
That he prevailed not against him. Right?
come,
Keep reading.
that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh.
Right. So Jacob was wrestling in his slumber with a man, and the man that he was wrestling with, right, realized that Jacob is strong. He's not prevailing. Right. Now this is just a story of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. No one wants to fight us. On a physical hand-to-hand combat, no one wants to fight with us because it's not a picnic. It's not a walk in the park. You wrestle with a brother, and you're going to get the brakes beat off of you, right? And this is what's happening in Jacob's dream. He's wrestling with a man, and he's winning, right? It's a winning time. Keep reading.
And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint.
Right. He was beating this man and wrestling with him to a point where the man had to touch the thigh of the hollow of his thigh, right? That's the hip bone. He had to hit the hip bone on Jacob to knock it out of his joint, right? Now you knock someone's hip bone out of joint, they're going to fall over, right? But let's see what happened with Jacob, right? And this is let you know the Lord was with Jacob because he, even in his dreams, he was strong. Keep reading.
As he wrestled with him. Verse 26. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh.
Now he's saying, listen, you gotta let me go. Daylight is coming up. And Jacob's his hip bone is out. The hollow of his thigh, the hip bone is out of place, and he's still gripping onto this man. Right? And it's just not working. And the man is saying, let me go. Right? As we keep reading, you're gonna find out that this man is an angel in his dreams. Right? There's an angel that Jacob is wrestling with. And Jacob is prevailing over the angel in his slumber to the point where the angel has to knock out Jacob's hip bone. Right? He has to knock out his hip bone, and Jacob still has a strong grip on him. And the man is saying, let me go. This angel is saying, let me go because daylight is up on its way. Keep reading.
And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me.
Right. So he said, I will not let thee go unless I bless thee. He's letting them know, listen, I have a strong grip on you and I need a blessing from you. Right? I need this blessing from you before I let you go. I beat you into submission. Now give me this blessing. Keep reading.
Verse 27. And he said unto him, what is thy name?
Right?
And he said,
the angel asked Jacob, what is thy name? And Jacob is going to reply.
And he said, Jacob.
Keep reading.
And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob.
Thy name should be called no more Yaquab. Right? Your name will not be Yaquab no more. Jacob in the English, but Yaquab in the Hebrew is not going to be Yaquab in the Hebrew no more. You're going to get a name change, right? Now, every officer, every sister in the UPK has been through this. Right? This is This is how you know that the Lord is with the UPK and we have the correct knowledge, right? Your Christian pastor is not doing this. You go into the Christian church, he lies to you. He gets some money. He says sleep with those heathens. He takes you to a little pool and dunks you in some water, right?
Right.
And then he says you're holy now, and your name is still the same. You haven't changed. All throughout the scriptures, we see men whose names have changed, right? Once they deal with holy men, once the Lord is with them, he's changing their names. You see it a few times out of the scripture. Salakia, how Abraham's name before it was Abraham, it was, let me see if I could find it.
Salak, y'all.
Khan,
I believe it was Abram.
Abram, the water priest, right? Abram was changed to Abraham, right? You see it. If I'm getting this right, Paul was Saul,
Right.
right? Names get changed, right? It's a good thing. You want to put away the old you. We do this a lot in the UPK. We put away the old us. The old men are dead. They're buried. We didn't have funerals for them, but we celebrated once they were gone. Once we got that name, Salakia, I'm gonna just let you know. Listen, one day I was in my room, I got a phone call. I got my phone. Dude, Bond's calling me, officer. Bond, let me answer this right away. I answered it. Shalom said, I'm still practicing saluting, right? So I was like, I'm messing up the salute, but Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Barakatah. He saluted back. He started going in. Salakia, young man, whatever my name, disgusting name was in the world. He said, young man, your name is not that no more. From here on out, you're going to be named as Zabadja. You are a gift to the city, right? That's what my name meant, a gift from the Lord, right? A gift to my city. He said, you are no longer that disgusting man that you were before. Most High in Christ, we've all gone through it. Shayuan has been through it, right? We all got a new name, and this is what's happening to Jacob. Keep reading. You are no longer going. He basically said, my name is Yaquab. Keep reading.
But Israel.
Say it in the Hebrew.
But Yasharallah.
He said, your name is going to be Yashra Allah, right? But Yashra Allah, right? Thy name shall be no more called Yaquab, but Yashra Allah, a prince of power, because Jacob, he was overpowering that angel, a prince of power. The Israelites, the Yashra Allah in the Hebrew, we are the princes and princesses of power. Who's more stronger than us? Right? Who's smarter than us in the earth? Oppressors couldn't even get to the moon without some Judite sisters. They needed the help of Judite sisters to get to the moon. You see the stop sign, you don't drive through traffic lights because of a Judite. Heart surgery because of a Judite. So many inventions because of Israel. The Edomites could not win World War II without the help of some brothers flying, the Tuskegee airmen flying those planes. They could not crack Hitler's code without the help of some Gadites. Right? There's no one better than Yashar Allah. We are the princes of power. Keep reading.
For as a prince hast thou power with God.
Right. We have power. Jacob, Yashar Allah, was given power. He's now going to be known as Israel. So from here on out, when we talk about Jacob, we're talking about Israel. When we say Israel, we're talking about Jacob. Right? He is a prince of power. Keep reading.
And with men.
He is a power with God and with men. Right? When the Lord is with you, you can do anything. You could literally move mountains, right? Now, that's not, no one's physically taking up a mountain and moving it. But we're out there waking up the dead. We're out there doing miracles. It's a miracle to get a brother off drugs and into this truth. It's a miracle that I get to speak with Shayuan, right? That's because some men decided to go on these corners and give us the truth,
Right.
right? And we seen the power with them. And we were faced with a choice: get down or lay down. And we stood up. We got down with those men. Keep reading.
Come. And has prevailed.
Right. He wrestled with a power and prevailed. We go against men and Salakia. We go against men and their doctrines, and we prevail all the time. We're gonna keep reading. Where are we? So now we're going to read Genesis 29 to Salakia. Genesis 32 and 29 to Genesis 33, verse 3 in the Hebrew, and then we're going to break it down. This is Genesis 32 and 29. Waya Amar, La'ah, Yaquab, Ya'ah Amar, Iwad, Shemam, Maya, Amam, Yasha'ala, Maya, Salakia, Maya, Shara Yat, Ain, Alahayim, Wa'ain, Anah, Anash, Salakia, Anash Shayam, Watha Walam, Salakia, Watha Wamal, verse 30. Waya Salakia, Wayasha'ala, Yaquab, Waya Amar, Haga Yada, Na'ah, Shemam, Salakia, Waya Amar, Lama, Zaha, Fasha La'a Allah, Lasha Maya, Waya Baram, Atha Wa, Sham, 31. Again, we're in Genesis 32, verse 31, if you're just tuning in. Waya Ra'a, Yaquab, Sham, Hama Kwam, Pana Ya'ala, Maya Ra'a Thaya, Alahayim, Panayam, Panayam, Watha Natazal, Napa Shaya, verse 32. Waya Zarak, La Hasha Mam, Ma'a Shar, Irab, Pana Wala, Salakia, Pana wa Allah, Waha Wa'a, Tazalai, Al, Yira Ma, verse 33, Al, Mana, La'a, Ya'a, Mala Wa, Banaya, Yasha, Salakia, Yasha'ala, Salakia, Giyad, Hana Shah, Ashar Al, Mapa, Haya Ram, Id, Haya Wam, Hazah, Maya, Nagad, Malak, Salakia, Bama, Yaram, Yaquab, Baga, Yada, Hana, Shah. We're going into Genesis 33. We're going to read verse 1. So this is Genesis 33, verse 1. Waya Shah, Yaquab, Ayan, Yawa, Waya A, Waha Naha, Salakia, Waha Na, Aisha, Ba'a, Wa'ai, Mawa, Ara, Ba'ai, Ma'a, Wa, Ayash, Waya Ka Taza, A, Haya Lada Yam, A, Wa'al, Rakal, Wa'al, Shaya, Shathaya, Hasha, Pakwa, Salakia, Hasha, Pakwa, Wa, verse 2, Waya Sham, Ad, Hasha, Pakwa, Wa'at, Yalda, Yahan, Ra'a Shana, Wa'ath, Ba'a, Waya Lada Yaha, Aka Ran Yam, Wa'ath, Rakal, Wa'ath, Waya Sa, Wayasap, Salakia, Yawasap, Akara Nayam. Verse 3. Waha Wa'a Irab, Salakia, Ibar, Lapan Yaham, Wayash the Kawa, Ra'atazaha, Shabai, Pa'ai Mayam, I, Gasha Thawa, I, Ka, Wa, Waya, Salakia. Salakia, that was the end of verse 3. So again, we're going to read Genesis 32:29 to Genesis 33, verse 3 in the English and break it down.
Come. Salakia. This is Genesis chapter 32 and verse 29. And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said,
Salakia, hold up. Shout out to the chat. We have someone tuning in. Shalom Max, the water for tuning in. Read that one more time, Baba Kasha.
Come. And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name.
Right. So Jacob, whose name is now Yasher Allah, right? Yaquab, who is now Yasher Allah, he asked him, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name. Keep reading.
And he said, Wherefore is it that thou doest ask after my name?
Right. And he's asking him, Why are you asking me my name? Keep reading.
And he blessed him there.
And he blessed him. The angel blessed him. Keep reading.
Verse 30. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, For I have seen God face to face.
Right. So he's seen power. Right. Now he's thinking he's seeing God face to face, but he's really seeing an angel because no man can see the Lord's face and survive. Even Moses. Moses saw the Lord's hind parts, right? He saw the back of the Lord. He just saw the light. And when he came back, they had to put a veil over his face because he was glowing. Right? Moses was glowing, and Jacob, he knows that he's seeing power. He's seeing something that he hasn't really seen before. Right? When we go back to the Greek or even in the Hebrew, the word God, it means power. So he's seen power. Keep reading.
And my life is preserved.
Now, this, everybody in the truth can understand this, right? You get with the men of the Lord, you get in here and you start to see the works of the Lord, and your life is now preserved. Right. And here, listen, you could have died if you didn't get in here. Now, as you get to know the brothers and sisters, they'll tell you stories about their life, and you'll find out, well, damn, you almost died before you got into the truth. Right? I myself, good night, I can't tell you how many attempted murders they've tried on me before I got in the truth. It's been a lot. And if it wasn't for here, I'd probably be in a grave. You would not know Zabaja. Keep reading.
And Salakia. And my life is preserved.
And
Verse
his
30,
life is preserved. Keep reading.
verse 31. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh.
Right? So as he's passing over, the sun's passing over, and he stops. Right? Officer Shaw, if you have anything you want to add, you already know, feel free.
Concept.
Right? So he stops. Read 32.
Therefore, the children of Yasharallah eat not of the sinew which shrank,
Keep reading.
which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day,
Keep reading.
because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew that shrank.
Right. Read on to 33, verse 1.
Genesis chapter 33 and verse 1. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men.
Right. Now, Jacob got this report earlier that Esau was going to come with 400 men. Right. He had this report. So he had gifts prepared for his brother because Edomite, they're just very carnal. They like gifts. Right. You give an Edomite a gift, and listen, they love you for a time. Until they're done with that gift, it's like children, right? Now, our oppressor, their children. You give a child a toy, just do it in your home. You'll see a child, he has a toy and he plays with it for about all of 30 seconds, and then he throws it down. And if you go take that toy, he starts to cry, he wants it. That's how our oppressors are. They are literally children. Right? Keep reading.
And he divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the two handmaids.
He split his company into two bands. He split his convoy onto two bands: the cattle, the children, the wives. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 2. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost,
Right?
and Leah and their children after.
He sent the handmaids and their children first, and he kept Leah and their children behind them. Right? And he sent them two separate ways. Keep reading.
And Rachel and Joseph hindermost.
And Rachel and Joseph hindermost. They were behind everybody. Keep reading.
Verse 3. And he passed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother.
right? So he went before them and he bowed himself 7 times until he came onto his brother Esau, right? Esau had 400 men. Now, if you haven't seen the presence of 400 men, 400 Edomites, or 400 of the other nations, to a weak man, not to say Jacob was weak, but to a man without an army, it is a dangerous thing, right? It might put fear into the hearts of men not in the ISUPK. It might put men who are in the Christian church to flight, right? We see it all the time. We see Christians running all the time, right? In the ISUPK, we stand, right? Here's a story. We went to camp, right? 4 brothers against the hordes of Edom, against all the Ishmaelites, against even Israelites who are just lost and stuck in the world, who hang with Hamites and all the other nations, and they're heckling, they surround us. We don't stop, we keep going because we know if they cross that line, we're going to defend ourselves. And Salakia, someone might get put to death out there, but it's not going to be the men in the UPK, right? This brother, a brother that seen us, he's seen us and he said, listen, how do you have the courage to stand out there? You have big cojones, pause, right? That's because we only fear the Father, right? I asked the men who was with me, who do they fear? And they said, the Father we fear. And Lord be with that brother. Hopefully he will be on the right side of the line with us when the time comes. Keep reading.
Slacky, other one. You want me to read verse 4?
Oh, Salakia, that was verse 3, right? So again, Jacob, Yashar Allah, he's coming on to his brother Esau, who vowed to kill him. Esau has 400 men with him, right? We're going to keep reading. That was the end of verse 3. We're going to read. Right, so we're going to read now from Genesis 32, Salakia, Genesis 33, verses 4 to verse 10. Right, and we're going to read it in the Hebrew, then turn around and break it back down in the English. So this is Genesis 33, verses 4. Waya Ratazah. Ashawat. Lakwa Ra'a Thawat. Waya Kaba Kwa Hawa. Waya Pa A Taza Wa'a Rawat. Waya Shakwa Hawa. Waya Mawa. Verse 5. Waya Asha A Ayan Yawa. Waya Ra'a A Hana Shayam. Wa'a Haya Lada Yam. Waya Amar. Maya Laha La. Waya Amar. Waya Lada Yam. Ashar. Kanan. Alahayam. At. Iba Dam. Verse 6. Verse 6. Watha Gashan SHALAM Wat Hana Waya Lada Yana Salakia Waya Lada Ya Han Watha Shatha Kawa Yan Watha Salakia. Verse 7. Watha Gash Gam Alaha Salakia La'aha Waya Lada Ya Wayash Thaka Wa Wa'a Kara Ha Nagash Waya Salakia Waha Salakia Yawa Sa Yawasa Salakia Yawasa Wara Ka Wayash Thaka Wa. Verse 8. Waya Amar Maya Lam Ma Hama Ha Kana Za Ashar Paga Shathaya Waya Amar Lama Taza'a Kan Ba'ai Yan Ya Adonai. Verse 9. Waya Amar Aishawa Yash Ya Rab Akaya Ya Salakia Yahaya Lam Ashar Lam. Verse 10. Waya Amar Yaquab Na'a Amam Na'a Mataza'a Thaya Khan Ba'ai Yan Wala Thak Mana Kathaya Maya Daya Maya Mana Ra'a Yathaya Panyam Mara Atha Panya Alahayam Watha Ratazan Ya. That was the end of verse 10. Now we're going to break down into English again what we just read. So we read from Genesis 33 verses 4 to verse 10. And we're going to break that down into English.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 33 and verse 4. And Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept.
Right, so these are two brothers that haven't seen each other. Esau, he hated his brother for not stealing, but for taking his blessings, for going through with the deal that they made. He didn't like it. One moment. Right, so he didn't like it. And now he's seeing his brother who he hasn't seen in 20 years, and he went and hugged him and wept. Keep reading.
Verse 5. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the woman, and the children, and said, Who are those with thee? And he
Right? So
said,
he's seeing and he asks him, who are these people with you? Right? He's seeing Jacob from when he last saw Jacob. Jacob went out with just a couple servants, just a couple servants, and now Jacob he's coming and he is fattened, right? His substance is fattened in the earth. He has children, he has family, right? A man now has 4 wives and 11 kids, and he had a bunch of cattle and a bunch of livestock with him. Keep reading.
Come. Slack. And saw the woman and the children, and said, Who are those with thee? And he said, The children which God hath graciously given thy servant.
Read that one more time.
And he said, The children with God hath graciously given thy servant.
This is to let you know you don't do anything on your own. Stop thinking that you do anything on your own. You have children because the Lord gave you children.
Right.
This is why Mother's Day is a Salakia for my language, a effing scam.
Right.
It's a scam to get silly women to tell their husbands to go spend money that they don't have on chocolate. Because that woman thinks that she brought that baby into her own, into the earth by herself. How silly can you be? Stop following your oppressors. Your oppressor hates you. He don't give a damn about you. He just wants your money, right? It's like the Hamite. One time I took a Uber ride with a Hamite. The Hamite was driving. Hamites like when you spend money with them. Aside from that, the Hamite proceeded to tell me, you see that silly sister dressed provocatively, dressed unmodestly, she's only good to sleep with. I abruptly have to end that ride. Okay, let me off right here. Here's a bad review. I don't want nothing to do with you. You only want my money. You don't give a damn about my sisters. You don't give a damn about me. Stop thinking God gave you something on your own. He gave you nothing. Salakia. Let me rephrase that. Stop thinking that you did everything on your own. If it wasn't for the Lord, you would not have that baby in your womb. That baby in your womb didn't even get there on its own. It was in a man's cojones for all his life, and then he put it in you, and you gave it back to him. Right? Jacob, Yasha, Allah, he understood that the Lord gave him everything. He understood he wouldn't be nothing without the Lord. The sisters and the men and the sisters in the I.S.U.P.K, we understand this clearly every day. We understand that if it wasn't for the Lord, we would have nothing. Right? We understand that we were we were nothing before we came into this truth. And now, listen, there's brothers and sisters. The baby boom in the UPK is on a rise. I think 2021 was a baby boom. I'm not gonna lie. Officer Shaywan, what do you think? Right? I seen, listen, I remember in 2021, every day I went on Facebook, another brother or sister was putting up a ultrasound. Saying this is what's happening. Right? Let's give the Most High a hand for that one. The baby boom, right? And listen, Salakia, it might have been Captain Tazariak's oil. Right? The Most High might have worked. The Most High was working through Captain Tazariak, and those oils, good night. Listen, the oils came, the baby boom came. I'll just leave it at that. Like I can't say no more. Right? All I know in 2021, I got a niece. Right? Just before that, I had some nephews, right? A bunch of nieces and a bunch of nephews, and nieces just running around. The next generation of the UPK is going to be absolutely amazing. I.S.U.P.K, the home of the truth, right? It is definitely the home of the truth. I can't say anymore, right? But Jacob, he told his brother, I got this because of the Lord. Right? Everything we have is because of the Lord. Now, people think they get riches because of the Lord, and then they leave and they become rich. Right? They leave the school and they become rich, and they say, the Lord is with me, I'm rich. Right? People in the world say, I am blessed. The Lord is with me. Right? I watched a Snoop Dogg interview, and he said, listen, brothers and sisters in the world are absolutely disgusting. You listen to those warriors in the back, right? Them warriors in the back, that's because the Lord gave Officer Shariwan those warriors in the back, right? Let's give a shout out to Officer Shariwan and his rib now and his family. The Lord is with that brother, right? But back to what I was saying. I watched an interview with Snoop Dogg, right? It was on a podcast, and he said his father is a disgusting man by the name of Bishop Don Juan, a man who he's a self-proclaimed pimp. He prostitutes the daughters of Israel and the daughters of all the heathen nations. And that man came up with a saying. He said church, right? Now, when they break down that saying, they're saying, while they're pimping the daughters of Zion, the Lord is with them, and they're successful at pimping the daughters of Zion because the Lord is with them. The most disgusting thing I've ever heard, right? Officer Shayuan, Baba Kasha, can you get me do not prostitute thy daughter?
Come.
Right? There are men who in the world, they think that because they're successful at doing evil, that the Lord is with them. This is untrue. This is a total lie. This is not, it's not real, right? Keep reading. Read it whenever you got it.
Come. So this is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 29. Do not prostitute thy daughter to
Do not
cause her to be a
prostitute
whore.
thy daughter. That's making your daughter a whore, right? Men who love whores raise whores. They raise weak, effeminate men who run out and spend $1,000 on a Valentine's Day gift for a woman who killed her baby when she was young, for a woman who kicked her husband out of the house and now she's with a new man. Right? You don't deserve a Mother's Day gift. And that, listen, tonight at 8 o'clock, we're going to be destroying Mother's Day because you do not deserve it. You became a whore in the earth. You left your husband. You chose him. You opened your legs for him, and then you left him because he was making you mad. And now you want a Mother's Day gift. You hate your baby father, but now you want a Mother's Day gift. Right? This is Jacob. He was basically saying, I got this from the Lord. There are men who prostitute their daughters, right? Daughters of Zion. Well, the scripture says, what does the scripture say, Shariwan?
Do not prostitute thy daughter
Go on.
to cause her to be a whore.
Throughout a priest. Do not prostitute thy daughter. Right? Now, I brought this out because there was a man who said, while he prostitutes the daughters of Zion and the daughters of the heathen nations, they're, the Lord is with him. The Lord doesn't want any daughters prostituting. He doesn't want any of the daughters of the earth to be whores because it pollutes the earth. Prostitution gets you killed. Right? For example, well, you know what? I.S.U.P.K Canada, we have the Rise podcast airing tomorrow, right? We're going to make an announcement on the TikTok, on all social media of the time. It's going to be sometime in the afternoon, right? Of when the podcast is going to be airing live, and we're just going to bring out many different subjects, and one of the subjects is going to be the prostitution of our daughters, right? So you could drop that, Officer Shayuan, and keep reading where you were.
Come, sir. It's the book of Genesis, chapter 33 and verse 6. Then the handmaidens came near, and their children, and they bowed themselves.
Right? These were humble sisters.
Right.
These sisters were humble. They bowed themselves. A sister that's humble, she's going to salute you and say, Yahweh Shamar ala Thamba Sham Shai. Right? She's going to ask the Lord to watch over you. If she's humble, she's going to salute you, because there is nothing more precious than a humble sister. She's worth, listen, again, out of all the rubies, all the coins, all the jewelry, everything valuable in the earth, and that is not worth what a humble sister is worth. What a sister in her modesty, in her femininity, in her submission to her husband is worth. Keep reading.
Verse 7. And Leah also with her children came near.
Let's give a shout out and a hand to all the sisters that are humble and that submit to their husbands. Right? That listen, you're doing a valuable service to your husband when you follow him. Keep reading.
And bowed themselves.
And Leah came near, and she, Salaki, read that one more time.
And Leah also with her children came near.
Leah with her children was very humble, and she bowed herself. She followed her husband. Right? Again, sisters that follow their husbands. Oh, good night. It's such a wonderful sight. Right? Now, there's a sister who I seen this post on Facebook. I don't remember the sister's name. I'm not going to search it at the moment. But if you follow the UPK, there's a sister on Facebook. Her husband is a powerful priest in the UPK. Right. She said she's doing her part. She's putting her brick in, and she bought a van for the school. Let's give that sister a hand. Good night. She bought a van. Sometimes husbands are down and they lean on their ribs, and their ribs graciously help their husbands. Let's give those sisters a hand. Right? In the UPK, we actively make a very big show of giving these sisters flowers because they deserve it. We give these sisters her flowers. We don't give men flowers. Flowers are for sisters. Slovakia. Shout out to Captain Katazai. He put an end to that. He said, listen, we are not saying that. Israel, we're warriors. Give a man his props. Flowers are for sisters. Right? Now listen, there's nothing like the smell of a humble sister without a husband. Especially when you make her your wife. Right? Flowers smell good. We don't give men flowers. We give them to sisters. A sister is a flower. Good night. Slovakia. Right. Keep reading.
Come. And after came Joseph near and Rachel, and they bowed themselves.
Right. And after Joseph came with Rachel, and they bowed themselves. Right. Because Rachel was a humble sister. She followed her husband. Right. And that's one thing you have to recognize. Right. Officer Shah, you want Bubba Kashah, get me 1 Corinthians 11:3. Right, there's rank and order. Right, listen, there was a whole damn near 200 comments in a Facebook and Instagram post about does a sister serve the husband or the children first when it comes to that plate. A sister in the world who's disgusting, she's gonna say, what? They're going to say something stupid like, the husband shouldn't worry about if he gets his plate first. So that was my impression of a sister in the world, right? Why does he want to worry about if he gets first dibs? Listen, that man went into the world and battled and broke his back and took orders from Edom all day to make sure that there was food on that plate. It doesn't even matter if he gets the best of the food. You should just give him the best of the food anyways. But just be humble enough to recognize that man, if intruders come into the house, he's going to fight to the death. To the death. Again, to the death, to make sure that the family survives. To make sure whoever comes into his castle, his kingdom, is put to death. And listen, if he's in the UPK, if he's a Hebrew Academy graduate, or he got some of that Hebrew Academy training, whoever comes into his house is getting put to death. In the UPK, you're not allowed to die, right?
Right.
What you're allowed to do is put a man to death if he's trying to put your family to death. That's in the Bible. That's in Scripture, right? That's also in the Canadian law, right? You could defend yourself, right? Now, that's not saying just put a man to death for no reason, but if someone's trying to harm your family, fight to the death. Sisters, if you have a man that's going to fight to the death for you and your family and give his all to protect you and go take all the punishment from the world just to come home and make sure his family eats, you better share his plate first. Because if not, there's some sister in the UPK that will be sharing his plate first. And you'll slowly start to wonder, he only calls me once a week. Why is this? Right? Salakia. Officer Shah, when you have that scripture?
Come on. So this is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 11 and verse 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ.
The head of every what?
Man is Christ.
That man who is in your bed, ladies, that man who's in your house, ladies, his head is Christ. You are not his head. Who's his head, Officer Shah?
Man is Christ.
The Mashiach. Yahweh Shai Mashiach is that man's head. Keep reading.
And the head of the woman is the man.
And the head of the aqua is the man. That man who, listen, you open your legs for him. You let him get the goods, but you don't want to follow him. Now make it make sense. It's not making sense. You already gave him the most vulnerable. You might as well follow him now, right? He is your head, right? You want to make a crucial decision, you should run it by him. He's going, if he's a righteous man, if he's a man in the UPK, right? Now listen, righteous men are in the UPK. I can't tell you what the so-called elder Israelites are doing, what the men with fringes and shirts and tassels and the men who follow white Jesus and Amalek are doing. I can't tell you what they're doing, right? They're not in here. I don't know them.
Right.
But the brothers I labor with, those are righteous men. Those men are perfect, right? You know, like Street Fighter, when you beat your opponent without getting a hit, and it says perfect. Those men are perfect. Ladies, you can be perfect too. You want to know why? Because Christ was perfect. And Christ was made through sex, just like you were. So you can be perfect too. Right? Those men, that's your head. Keep reading, Officer Shariwan.
Come. And the head of Christ is God.
Right. So the head of Christ is Yahweh. The head of man is Yahweh Shai. The head of the Aqua is the Ak. The head of Yahweh Shai is Yahweh. It's rank and order. Right? Make that man's plate first. It just makes sense. Like he's willing to die to protect you. And now if you don't have a man that is like that, it's tough. I sympathize for you. The only thing I can tell you to do is get in here, click on this link. Get in here. Find out what it's like to have a brother who's going to protect you. As you change, your husband's going to see the change in you. As you change, your husband's going to see the change in you. And if he's a righteous man, he's going to want to change. And if not, as long as you're in here, you'll be all right. You'll find protection. You'll have brothers who are ready to step when it's time, who are willing to protect you. Right? A sister in here, listen, she has a hedge of warriors around her, from her husband to her brothers. Right? Listen, I'm willing to, for the sisters in this school, the men are going to put men to death if you come up against the women in this school, straight up. Just straight up and down. Right? Good. Now, I could tell you some stories, but that's for another time. Just again, shout out to all the sisters in the school. Shout out to all the sisters that are in here who understand the rank and order of how this goes, because it was a wonderful thing when you click that link and you shut your mouth for 90 days and got a name and humbled yourself and stopped dressing naked on the internet. Right? Shout out to all the brothers, right? I did that out of rank and order, but we were talking about sisters, so I was giving a shout out to the sisters. But shout out to all the brothers who put away the disgusting lifestyle they were living and got in here. Right? Because we all deserve death. We just all deserve it. Like, don't ever don't ever think to yourself that you didn't deserve death. You deserve death. Right? But again, click this link. Yeah, you got a man that's not humble. He's not a righteous man. Click this link, get in here and learn how to be righteous. When you learn how to be righteous, you could turn around and show your husband what it's like to be righteous. And if he's a righteous man, if he has the fear of God in him, he's going to get in here and raise up from a young man to a trooper to a officer. And the Lord allow, if he's humble enough and he's put in enough work, he can become a captain. Right, Officer Shaiwan, Baba Kasha, can you keep reading the Sabbath scriptures that we are reading? I believe you stopped at verse 7. We're on verse 8 now. Genesis 33, verse 8, for anybody who's watching and paying attention.
Concert. Verse 8. And he said, what meanest thou by all this drove, which I met?
Right. He's saying, why did you send me all these gifts? Because again, Jacob sent a bunch of gifts from cattle and just from the riches he had to his brother. Right. He was trying to gain favor in his brother's sight because his brother threatened to kill him. Now, some weird half the blueprint Israelite. That's what I call the Old Testament Israelites, right? Half the blueprint Israelites. You guys only have half the blueprint and you're building a house. They're building a house in mud and it's sinking and they put in no works. You don't see them on the streets and they want to run to Africa and get every Hamite. Not to say that Israel is not in Africa, because Africa is a land and we've been scattered. We're everywhere, right? But you are not to judge if that's a Hamite or not. Leave that to the generals. Leave that to the men who upheld what the Most High brought back into the earth. You only know you're an Israelite because of the UPK, because of Abba Bivens and the 7 generals who came after, who raised up men all the way down to commanding General YAHANNA, who never dropped his sword. He's still holding his sword. Let's give a shout out to Commanding General YAHANNA and all the generals and all the captains, the officers, the troopers, the sisters, and the next generation, the children that are coming up, right? It's such a wonderful thing to see children who will not know what sin is, right? You want a Mother's Day gift, and you're telling your child to celebrate the Mother God. There is no Mother God. Do you even know what it is that you're celebrating? Right? Listen, there are a bunch of sisters tomorrow going to celebrate Gia. And they don't even know that they're celebrating the Mother Goddess when it says the Lord is a man of war. The Christian pastors are leading our sisters. Look, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of Christian pastors with Mother's Day sermons. That's the word, a sermon tomorrow. And it's going to be a totally disgusting thing. But we're going to keep reading and we're going to wrap this up, right? He's asking, read it from the top, Baba Kasha.
Come. And he said, what meanest thou by all this drove, which I met?
Why did you give me all these gifts? Keep reading.
And he said, these are to find grace in the sight of my Lord.
Our oppressor is such an evil bastard. You could buy his heart for 10 seconds with a gift.
All right.
Keep reading. 10 seconds, that's all you're going to get. And then he's going to go back to killing you. Keep reading.
Verse 9. And Esau said, I have enough.
Keep reading,
My
because Esau
brother,
wanted to kill his brother. He knew that eventually he's going to kill his brother. I have enough, but I'm going to take your stuff anyways. Keep reading.
my brother, keep that thou hast unto thyself.
It's a good thing that the Lord separated us from Esau, right? Because he just wanted to kill us. The Lord said, abhor not an Edomite. Don't hate him. Let's wipe the slate clean as we come out of Egypt. And that's what we did. We wiped the slate clean, and he went right back to killing us. And now we hate his crimes. We don't hate his skin color. Look, I'm wearing white. Officer Shariwan's wearing white. We don't hate white. Officer Shariwan, that hoodie, good night with the white strings. I like when my hoodies have the thick white strings too. I got him a gun down with dye, has my name, it's in white. We don't hate white. My headband has white. Give a shout out to Sister Kalpa and her team with these. Man, look at these. This right here, like look at this. This is man. Good night. Right? Again, sisters in the UPK, they put in work. Right? They are very humble. Right? Keep reading from where you were.
Verse 10. And Jacob said, Nay, I pray thee.
He said, no, I pray thee. I pray that you take these gifts. He's telling him, no, take this. Keep reading.
If now I have found grace in thy sight.
He's saying, if I have found grace in thy sight. Shout out to Sister Janice Bell. Shalom. Keep reading.
Then receive my present at my hand.
Then receive these presents at my hand. Listen, take these presents. Jacob's trying to buy some time so he can get away because he knows that his brother wanted to kill him. He said it, right? As we were coming out of Egypt, Amalek, who's the chief tribe of Esau, they attacked from the back like the cowards they are, killing our sick and our old, our women, our children, and the weak, right? Keep reading.
For therefore I have seen thy face.
Read.
As though I had seen the face of God.
Read.
And thou wast pleased with me.
He said, listen, I've seen your face and you've been pleased with me. And he's basically giving him a gift. He, again, with our oppressors, you could buy their heart for 1 millisecond. For 1 millisecond, you could buy their heart. The oppressors are for sale. Everything they do is for sale. They sell themselves. And when I say for sale, I'm not saying you could buy an oppressor, right? But a gift will make an oppressor forget about his bloodlust against you for, again, 1 millisecond, and then he's going to get right back to it. Right? So we're going to stop right there at Genesis 33 and 10. And we're going to leave it there. Again, we got a class tonight. We're going to be breaking down Mother's Day and how it goes against the Bible. It's not scripture. You cannot listen. In here, we celebrate what we find in the Bible. If it's in the Bible, we're celebrating it. If it's not, we're not. You can't find Mother's Day in the Bible. You can't find go out and buy chocolates. Listen, there are good mothers in this school. There are some righteous sisters, right, who are coming up. And they're like mothers to the whole school. We give them gifts. We just don't do it on Mother's Day. We just don't do it because the oppressor told us to do it. We do it on every other day. But we don't follow what the oppressor told us to do. Right? So once again, shout out to all the brothers and sisters who are watching. Shout out to Max and Janice Bell, the water for tuning in. Right? Again, if you're trying to be in the school, if you want the benefits of the brotherhood and sisterhood that you won't get anywhere else, hit that signing link. We're going to end this service with a few prayers. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer and a couple more prayers, and we're going to call it a wrap to the Sabbath service. The water for tuning in. Again, we got a podcast starting soon. It's going to be tomorrow. Shout out to the brothers and sisters who are making it possible. Right? We got a class tonight at 8 p.m. on this same channel. Men of Israel, Akwafian, I imagine, which means to stand. Sarpanya Hakodam, which means turn and face the east. We're going to say the Lord's prayers. This is the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. You can find it in Matthew 6, verses 8 to 13. Abanawa.
Abanawa.
Shabashamayam.
Shabashamayam.
Kodash.
Kodash.
Haya.
Haya.
Shamka.
Shamka.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Malakwatka.
Malakwathka.
Saba'ah.
Saba'ah.
Ratazaka.
Ratazaka.
Haya.
Haya.
Aisha.
Aisha.
Barataza.
Barataza.
Huwa.
Hawa.
Haya.
Haya.
Bashamayam.
Bashamayam.
Tanlanawa.
Nathan Lanawa.
Kam.
Lakam.
Yuwam.
Yuwam.
Wasalaknawa.
Wasalak Lanawa.
Kawatnawa.
Wabathnawa.
Kasalaknawa.
Kasalaknawa.
Kawatinawa.
Kawabathinawa.
Wala'a.
Wala'a.
Tabayanawa.
Tabayanawa.
Wanasaiwan.
Wanasayawan.
Ball.
Ball.
Awashainawa.
Awashayanawa.
Mayan.
Mayan.
Kaya.
Rai Kaya.
Salakia. Rai Kaya.
Rai Kaya. Laka.
Amalakwa.
Namalakwa.
Wahala.
Wahala.
Wahatapara.
Wathapara.
Wa'ai walamyam.
Lai Walamyam.
Aman.
Aman. In English, what we read, Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done in earth,
Thy will be done in earth,
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread.
And forgive us our debts,
Forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
Lead us not into temptation,
Lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever so be it.
forever so be it. The prayer for power structure. Barakatah Yahweh,
Barakatah Yahweh,
Wa Yahushai,
Wa Yahushai,
Wa Mayaka Allah,
Wa Mayaka Allah,
Wa Alahayim,
Wa Alahayim,
Matazabia,
Matazabia,
Alawap Yahanna,
Alawap Yahanna,
Ha Alawapim,
Ha Alawapim,
Ha Saranyam,
Ha Saranyam,
Ha Kotazayanyam,
Hakwatazayanyam,
Ha Kaya Yayalyam,
Hakayayalyam,
Ha Aquafiam,
Wa Akwathi,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem Yahushai Tuwaraman.
Hashem Yahushai Thawara Aman. In English, bless you Yahweh,
Bless you, Yahweh,
and Yahushai,
and Yahushai,
and Michael,
and Michael,
and the angels,
and the angels,
commanding General Yahanna,
commanding General Yahanna,
the generals,
the generals,
the captains,
the captains,
the officers,
the officers,
the troopers,
the troopers,
and the sisters.
and the sisters.
Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai,
Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai,
thank you, so be it.
thank you, so be it. The prayer for power. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai,
Yahweh Hashem Yahushai,
Babakashah, Lathalanawa,
Baba Kushal the Thunder now.
Haka,
Ka,
Larapa'ah,
Lara Pa'a,
Kamakala,
Kal Makala,
Wakal Madawa,
Wakal Madawa,
Haka,
Hakak,
Latahar,
Latahar,
Hamatazariah,
Hamatazarayim,
Haka,
Hakak,
Lahakwayam,
Lahakwayam,
Hamathayam,
Hamathayam,
Haka,
Hakak,
Arukawa,
Al Rakawa,
Hatama'ala,
Hatama'ala,
Lagarshan,
Lagarshan,
Ba'ashem,
Basham,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
throughout our month.
throughout our month. In English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai,
Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai,
please give us the power
please give us the power
to heal all manner of sickness
the power to heal all manner of sickness
and all manner of disease,
and all manner of disease,
the power to cleanse the lepers,
the power to cleanse the leper,
the power to raise the dead,
the power to raise the dead,
the power against unclean spirits,
the power against unclean spirits,
to cast them out.
to cast them out.
In the name of Yahushai,
In the name of Yahushua,
thank you, so be it.
thank you, so be it. Men of Israel, sir, Akwati sir. Men of Israel, we're going to give a salute to the Akim. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat. Imagine Barak.
Yahweh Hashem Yahushai Barakatuh.
Yagim Matah, which means hands down. Men of Israel, sir, to the sisters. Men of Israel, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat. Imagine Barak. Yahweh
Yahweh
Shema.
Shema Hashem Yahushai.
Class dismissed. Salakia, don't forget to hit the sign out link. I'm going to drop the sign out link right now. Give me a second. I'm going to drop it right now as we sign out. Hold up. Give me a moment.
My life is about war, a priest for the war in these streets. You know I've been fighting my demons, and even the war to get peace. It's me and my niggas who train for war, we train to fight to death. I had to fight to get right, so I go to war with the left. My life is about war, a priest for the war in the streets. The nigga been fighting his demons, and even the war to get peace. It's me and my niggas who train for war, we train to fight to the death. I had to fight to get right, so I go to war with the left. I know the meaning you ever been feeling, they're going to be one, they come in religion, they give a say for the reason. Crying for peace, but that's not the season. They don't let people be demons. I'm going to war for the things that they teach, and they love my brothers be beefing. They don't know the enemy, the devil deceiving, carrying struggling, not for the toil. That shit hurts. Who kill us more than bullets in churches? Them pretty ass pastors on millions, they did it on purpose. A nigga a warrior for sure, my life a battle, everyday verses. They tried to kill me 3 times, I woke in the ghetto, everyday curses. I just played a demon, the killing was perfect. They wanted to pray for who, but nobody's praying for us. They found touchdowns together, the nation's devouring us. I've been on the podium loud, they think that I'm crazy. Only a monster, put zip ties on a baby. Satan said to the king, I fight him daily. I'm about to call up a bond, preach that raised me. My life is about war, a